Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are back. We have today and two more of the Get It Seen, the simplest way to accessible design coming up. But today we're going to talk about captions. Hey, Piccia, how are you?
I'm very well, Michelle. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I was out of town last
Good.
week. You were out of town the week before, but we're back.
We
We're,
are back. We've been out of town a bit. It's and
we
also
have.
on alternating dates, which hasn't helped.
Has not helped, that's true.
Yeah.
I
But that's
was
the beauty
in
of live.
Yeah, I was in Amsterdam last week and experiencing accessibility in European style, which is to say, sometimes quite different from here in the US. So, very interesting. Um,
In what way? That's really interesting.
yeah, so accessible hotel rooms don't necessarily accommodate every kind of wheelchair. So, for example, my scooter, I can only go straight in and then back out. There's no room to maneuver within the room. And then there was a very long desk that separated the bed area from the cupboards where you would store your clothing. So obviously I couldn't use the cupboards, and I couldn't use that side of the desk because I couldn't pull my scooter in that direction and then also open the cupboard doors up. So it was interesting. It was interesting. And the accessible toilet was actually pretty accessible. However, in the Netherlands, people are very tall, so my feet didn't touch the floor whenever I used the commode. So perhaps TMI, but I thought it was funny. I was
No,
like,
it is very
it's a good,
fun.
it's a good thing it had railings so I could balance and not fall off.
How funny. I hadn't. I'm definitely challenged in a height department. And I haven't. I've been to the Netherlands quite a few times. Never noticed that, but I will pay attention next time. That is hilarious. But
It was
even though
funny.
it's a little bit about captions, but I think we're talking about accessibility in these
Yeah,
meetings anyway. So I think anything goes to a point.
it's true.
But at the
Yeah.
moment, I have a little side hustle that I love, which is writing a guide to the city where I live, Valencia, and I have a new Instagram account that I just started. Instagram is evil, but apart from that, um, and so I'm visiting all the attractions in the city again with a view to really giving useful information. And of course, being who I am and doing what I do, I am including accessibility information that, as far as I know, no tourist guide does that. Do they? Do you? I mean, generic guides. I'm not
Yeah.
saying. I know that there are guides that are specific for accessibility, but a normal guide they also says, is this accessible or not? And I am now realizing how, even because I thought, especially a new institution that I visited yesterday, I thought surely they've poured so many millions into this, surely they'll be completely accessible. Well, reader, they are not, because I spaces and room for maneuver, I think there is, but I only think. I don't have your lived experience. I don't know how you would use your scooter, but I've checked that everything is accessible. Like there are lifts everywhere, and so on,
Yeah.
and lots of space. But I then asked, do you have braille captions? And they don't have braille captions. And the
Mm,
captions thing is so important. And they also, and this is definitely within today's topic of captions. So I'm meaning the captions in the building to illustrate, to tell you who the artist is and the medium, the year, and so on. They, at least in this particular place that I'm thinking of, that I visited yesterday, they are close to the work. But in so many other places, it's like the curators do it on purpose to make it as far away, they put it as far away as possible to give
mm,
you, to make you work a little bit. And you're like,
mm,
no, I don't. And also they're very difficult to get close to. So often they are in a very thin typeface. There's no braille, and if you go online, there is no accessible version, which is that was the case yesterday. Because I thought, okay, let's say that I I'm here, I'm blind, and I can't see these captions on the wall, and there's no braille version, I'll go on the website. But the website is not accessible. They've done it
Yeah.
really badly, and you can't even zoom in. It's a very flashy, beautiful website, but you can't even zoom in. And
Yeah.
there are audios, but not that many audios. So if you're, for instance, you have low vision and are hard of hearing and go on the website to look at the captions, you can't really do that.
Yeah, that's
So
unfortunate. It's
there
no more than
is
unfortunate.
there,
It's criminal.
it kind of is on the part of a completely new institution like that. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing. I'm roasting roasting local museums and seeing if I can, but some are really nice. Like I write to them and say, so I've noticed when I visited the cathedral that your captions are really hard to read. They're quite far, and what are you doing about it? Because your website is also inaccessible. And they told me, we are getting a team in from the local disabled association to give us advice on how to make the place more accessible. And that's lovely. That's all that's needed. Because in a lot of cases, and I think this applies particularly to captions, people just don't know. They are simply not aware that what they are doing is not helpful at all. And that's why we need to talk about captions, Michelle, which
Yep.
was the title
That's
of
right.
the Equalized Digital meetup that was on 4th of September. I think it was a Thursday, and I think it was the last time you and I met as well.
It was. Yep.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that's quite a long meetup. There's a lot of information about captions. Still not everything that you could say, but it's longer than the time we have here. But this sort of strong need to talk about captions for me came from the ubiquitous presence of those flashy fat captions in fancy fonts with lots of font treatments that have been all the rage for far too long, aided by the fact that it's really easy to find a free app that will do that for you. And I think that in most cases, the people using them just don't know what they're doing. They don't know that they are causing serious problems to, very selfishly, someone like me, because I have a vestibular disorder. It's not the first time I mention it for people that have been following us, but it's really, it informs every part of my life online. So don't send me gifts, please, unless you know that the app that we're in lets me stop them, because what is completely innocuous and probably funny to you, it makes me entirely sick. And I really, especially things that loop and that I can't stop, make me sick. So an email full of gifs, in an email you cannot stop a gif. I literally can't read it. So
Yeah.
this is why we need to talk about captions, because a lot of people do not know.
So I will put in a bit in the banner here. If somebody's interested in going back to watch that, you can look up Equalize Digital on YouTube and find the link there. But I also just put it. It's hard to see. I mean, how do you capture this when it's on the screen? But this is how you find it specifically, which is youtube.com/watch V equals capital C capital U. I don't know how important the capitalization is there. AMRD, capital F, D, capital O, L, and then it looks like a 0. So I'm going to go with 0 at the end there for anybody who's listening. So you don't wonder what on earth I put on the screen. So
that's we could start a rant on accessible typography and the difference between an O and a 0, and that typeface does make it different. So
yes.
So if anyone is wondering which captions we're talking about, I have a few examples, of course, with a trigger alert, because some people like me, and we're not going to stick to it for very long, because so this is, for instance, someone this example that I'm going to show you is from someone I know personally. She's absolutely great. She's lovely. She really cares about inclusion, but she didn't know about captions until she was told. So I'm just gonna share the screen. It's very strange what is happening to me now. It happened. My browser has blocked my screen. Have I got? What is going on?
Don't know. Well, you're looking for that. I will mention an app called Roll Mobility. It's an app, I believe it's on both Android and iPhone. And it is a way for you to add to the app anytime you go someplace what the accessibility of that location is. So for people who especially struggle with mobility issues, so people in wheelchairs, with walkers, with canes, etc., you can check the app for locations near you that are accessible or that present accessibility issues. For example, if I'm going out to eat and I don't see anything on a restaurant, I can check the app to see how mobility accessible it is. And if it's not already on the app, I can add it and add my review of the accessibility there. So that's something that you might consider when you're visiting places too, here at Piccia, because you don't need to be a wheelchair user to note and make those accessibility notes for other people.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly helpful. That's really, really great. And I didn't know it. So that's brilliant. Yeah. So I have a slight issue because it happened in a meeting that I had before. And apparently it's something to do with my browser that doesn't let me.
You want to share the link with me and then I can pull it up?
Yeah, but I have to sort it out because otherwise it just lets me to share the entire screen, which I really don't want to do. But it's an Instagram. It's an Instagram link. But what is going on? Click the screen icon in your address bar. What? There's no screen icon.
Is it a message
strange
about toxic marriages and things like that?
No.
I think I've got the wrong link.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and share it. Give me just a moment. Hang in there with us, folks.
Sorry, everyone.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so now you're seeing the Holt Survival Guide, Leah Turner Holt, and this captioning with so fast and
oh my God.
This is awful.
Not only is it fast, it's changes. It's all in caps, which is really difficult to read for anyone with dyslexia, which I know is something that Leah really cares about. And it's all the flashing. We need to actually, please, let's leave it because it's unbearable. But I'm sure that all of you have seen captions like this and see them all the time. And all I'm saying is please don't do them, because there's this big misunderstanding at the moment that captions are a way to express your creativity, or your brand. No, they're not. Captions are an accessibility device. They were created to solve an accessibility problem. In fact, they were, I think it was both in the US and in the UK that they were sort of developed at the same time. A deaf engineer who was also an Emmy Award winner called Dr. Gregory Frazier developed a closed captioning system in the early 60s for American TV. And this is why. So it's an innovation that was driven by accessibility. And I can't tell you how many such innovations that we take for granted today were driven by accessibility. Captions are just one of them. So you and I, Michelle, are Generation X. Yeah.
Yes.
Born in the late 60s. Do you know what we have in common with Generation Z, born, if I'm not wrong, from 95 to 2010. Yeah, 95 to 2010 is Gen Z. Do you know what we have in common with them?
No. Tell me.
Captions. 80% of Gen Z use captions. And a lot of Gen X use captions because we're entering, let's say, the golden years of our lives. So we probably have uh, maybe hearing issues. Now, Bat Hannon, who's another amazing accessibility expert, she suggested to me, as when I wrote an email to my list about captions, and she said, I always have captions on, and I think I hear well, but at the same time, people who watch telly with me say it's a bit loud. And of course, I blasted my ears with raves and gigs in my 20s and 30s and carried on. So it's possible that my hearing is not as it should be, but I usually hear. But Beth said best to get it tested because you may not know that you could be hearing a lot better, and it's a really good thing to catch on early on. But I've been watching with captions on for years and years and years now. It's also because I watch in many languages, but whatever the language, whether it's Italian is my native language, English good as native, I really probably my written English is better than my Italian by now. Spanish, very, very good. French is passable, but it doesn't matter. It's not about the language. I need to, or whether I'm hearing or not. It's a cognitive tool. And a lot of Gen Z apparently say the same. They just find it helps cognition. And I find this really interesting with young people. I know that with my niece and nephew, they were encouraged from when they were little to watch things in the original language. And now, guess what? Both of them have perfect English, not an issue. That can go to any university they want. So it's a real advantage that they had. But so that may be that they took up the habit. But I'm wondering whether with so much screens that they've had, they're native digital, they're digital natives. So maybe it's a need for, I don't know, it's a sort of need to, it helps them focus, which is what happens to me. It helps me.
Same.
Captions help me focus.
Yeah. There's a lot of research too, I believe, in captions with ADHD. It helps with ADHD as well. A lot of people who are very easily distracted, which I am, right? So I'm very easily distracted when I'm watching television, when I'm watching a movie, and often miss things. And so I used to go back and try to listen again, but now with the captions on, I get the whole gist of what's happening. Even if I'm distracted by, let's say, somebody's outfit on TV or something happening in the background of the TV where I would then miss dialogue because I was focused on something else. I'm seeing the captioning now, which helps me bring it all together.
Exactly. I mean, personally, I have to rewatch scenes sometimes. I don't know how many times.
I know.
I don't know what it says about me, but never mind. So,
but there's a difference. There's a question, and I'm bringing this up because James had mentioned something. There's captioning images and there's captioning video, and those are a little bit different, right? So he says he tries to add captions to an image, but it feels redundant to type it out on top of the alt text. If you add captions to an image, do you still need alt text? Is a good question.
Right, but that's slightly different though, because we are talking about moving image captions. Right. Sorry, should have specified, because in fact, one thing that we should have started with is the difference between subtitles and captions. So James, that's a really good point. The thing is that the role of a caption is not the role of alt text. A caption assumes that you are seeing the image. So you still need to do the alt text. They are two different things, because the alt text is you're describing the image to someone who can't see it, as if you were on the phone. The caption assumes, it gives extra information and it assumes the vision. So when we're talking about captions in this particular podcast, is we talk about video captioning, so moving image that has captions, to clarify. And it's interesting, I think, James, are you US based or Canada based, I think.
He's in Boston.
Boston, okay. Because in the UK, that which is where my English comes from, there isn't that much. I always have to remind myself what the difference is between subtitles and captions. Like, for instance, when I upload to Vimeo or YouTube and it asks me whether they are subtitles or captions, I do know the difference now because I've studied. And that's what I'm here
Tell
for.
us.
Guess what, Michelle? I just realized I didn't turn my light on.
Ah,
There was something.
there you go.
Okay, it's better
So
now,
what?
isn't it?
So what is the difference between subtitles and captions?
Subtitles are can be, for instance, a translation, or they are an interpretation of the text, whereas captions are
Word for
a
word?
transcription, hopefully word for word, and
Yeah.
even sound for sound. And there's closed captions and open captions. Confusingly, open captions are the ones that we just saw. They are burnt onto the image and cannot be turned off. Closed captions, on the other hand, are you can turn them on and off. And usually a lot of platforms have the toggle. You can have CC on or you can have it off. And I really recommend that when you do your videos, you do not consider captions as your way to make you can maybe sometimes have some text on the image in the same way that we use it in presentations, but just don't think of captions as a stylistic device. They're not. They're an accessibility tool. They're nothing else. That's what they are. And in fact, to the point that you really have to be literal, because you have to remember that the main driving principle of accessibility is that everybody should have the same experience. So if I say a swear word, you have to keep the swear word. You can put beep in square brackets if it's beeped out. But if it isn't beeped out, you should not censor. You should make sure that those who can't hear actually get the same text, exactly the same
same
text.
experience, yes, as hearing folks. I have captioning turned on all of my streaming services in my home. And then I was on an airplane and I was trying to watch a movie and I couldn't understand why I wasn't following it as well until I realized I hadn't turned the captions on the airplane because I'm not used to having to toggle them on and off anymore. I was like, why is my experience not as good? And then I was like, oh, I'm not reading the text at the same time as they're speaking it. So I was able to turn that on and then enjoy the movie much better.
That is so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, really interesting. And you and I assume you can hear, I can hear, and yet they've become essential to our experience.
Right. But I can't hear everything. So like I will often be watching a movie or watching a television show and I'm reading the captions as I go along and I'll see, the things in parentheses like dishes clanking or soft music in the background. And I'm like, I didn't hear the dishes. I didn't hear the music. Like I am clearly not getting everything that I thought I was getting without the captions.
That's really interesting. So maybe we should do what Beth Hannon recommends and get our ears tested because maybe we have a little something. So yeah.
I also listen with I don't have my TV very loud because I live in a condo situation where there's people above me and people beside me. And so I do keep it a little bit quieter, which also means that I rely on the captions even more.
So there's a really, exactly. There's a really interesting comment by June Liu. He says, I turn on captions on my social media platforms, but creators will add their own. I then have double layer of words. What can creators do to balance the two? Don't put open captions on. Do not burn captions in. That's what they have to do. They do it because they're not aware. There are certain platforms that don't have CC. I don't think Instagram has CC. I mean, Instagram is evil on so many levels. I have to use it, but yeah. So Instagram is inherently was never born to be accessible. It was born to be inaccessible. When they do that, there's very little that you can do. And often when creators, even those who don't use the flashy effects, and there are so many more examples that we could bring, but you've seen them all. We're not going to make us sick again. We've seen them because I literally get sick. But even when people do it in a more sensible way and have it more sensibly laid out, still often they use text treatments because they would never do it the simple way, like there are no frills at all whatsoever. So they use sometimes drop shadow, they give the text an outline, which makes it all less legible, not more. It's cognitive overload, it's visual clutter. So the only answer, June, is that creators should just not put captions on unless they are using a platform that doesn't allow for them. But even so, then use no frills and make sure that you put them in a position on the screen that makes sense. Because another reason why Instagram it's very hard to make Instagram accessible, because there is so much that goes on a single image. There's the post copy, there's the all the comments, there are all the icons that the user needs. It's, my God, the visual clutter of an Instagram post is immense. So if someone puts the captions on top of it, unless they do it in a very, very clever way, often they are covered by other things or they go on people's faces. It's a minefield on a platform like Instagram, but on Facebook or on YouTube or on LinkedIn, these platforms have closed captions, and therefore that's all you need to do. And another thing that you need to do is to please check your captions even when they are AI generated. Otherwise, what they are called is auto captions. Okay, because there will always be some crap in them.
Yeah. So I'm going to add something that I just thought of. Captions are not a style choice. There's not stylizing captions. Captions need to be easy to read. They need to follow the flow of the conversation, not make my eyes jump from the top to the bottom to the middle and all over the place, and certainly should be very plain and easy to follow, not like that example that we had earlier. So they're not a style. They are, they're I can't think of the right word. They're there for accessibility, not for flashiness.
No, they're not a design tool. That's the thing. They're not a branding or design tool. And in an ideal world, you would also put the speaker's name in square brackets, for instance, or you can also use other devices such as color to identify different speakers, but bearing in mind that if you rely on only the color to deliver meaning, that's a WCAG violation. That's a Web Content Accessibility guidelines violation. There should be other ways of making that clear. And these days, if there's one thing that AI is good at, it's speech to text and text to speech. So let's use it, but let's help it out, because however good it is, there are always blunders. There is always things that it doesn't understand, because we don't always get it right. Even with perfect hearing, sometimes someone speaks very fast, so there's a noise on top that you hadn't accounted for, so words can get lost. So always please edit your captions.
So David says that in YouTube Shorts, he finds it easier to actually read open captions than closed captions because the closed captions are tiny and placed at the top. Is there a benefit to, say, putting a transcript also in the description of the video that we put on there, so that if somebody can't follow the closed captioning or the open captioning, they could read a transcript? Is that a tertiary way to kind of add information?
Yeah, a transcript must be added. That's level A WCAG web content accessibility guidelines. And whenever you generate captions, usually these days, whatever tool you use, it will also generate a transcript for you. On YouTube, if I'm not wrong, you can activate the transcript. What's slightly annoying is that I think that they're connected. The toggle turns the, if I'm not wrong, if you toggle the captions on, then it activates the transcript. But if you turn the captions off, you don't have the transcript. The thing is, David, and I don't know if I pronounce your name correctly. Please,
it's David.
let me know.
It's just
David.
That's his YouTube handle.
Oh, okay, you do. It's okay. Okay, I thought it was a really cool name.
It is.
David. The thing is that the captions on top, captions should not be placed on top. The familiar location is in what is called the lower third in cinematography terminology, and it was always like this because film was silent to begin with, so you had subtitles. Those were subtitles because often dialogues were cut. You would only get after there would be like a whole lively impassioned conversation between two of the protagonists, and then the subtitle would be 3 words. So that was that
Right.
silent movie. So the lower third, if you're a filmmaker, you know that the lower third, you're never meant to put anything important in the lower third. Shorts are not like that. Mostly YouTube is done by non-professionals. So shorts inherently that shape and all the information that goes onto it, like I said, on Instagram as well, onto a reel, that's something new that we're trying to deal with, and sometimes it doesn't quite work. But at the top is just weird. It shouldn't be. There shouldn't be anything at the top.
Well, trying to keep to our 30 minutes. We're already at 32 minutes. Let's share some information on the screen here. First, I want to share that WP Accessibility Day, so WordPress Accessibility Day, is coming up October 15th to 16th, 24 hours of accessibility talks. And it's done through we use Zoom for that. So you do need to register. You can't just expect to turn up on the day and look at YouTube. So go to 2025.wpaccessibility.day and you can register there. It is free to register, but again, you do need to be registered to be able to get the links to watch it live and to join any Q&A conversations afterwards. I also want to mention, Piccia, you're running a accessible design content course, and that's at piccianeri.com/accessible-design-content-course. And for us today, you have a discount code PS15 to receive 15% off of that. And
so
then
I should have given you the short. Why do I create really easy short
URLs?
URLs if I then don't give them to you?
Oh, so you could just go to
so much easier.
piccianeri.com/ADC if you would like to get that a little faster. I can't adjust the banner that quickly. I'm sorry. And then next week, we're going to talk about data visualization. And I'm not even aware. I did a little research because that's not something that's in my vernacular at this point. So I'm sure I know what it is once I do a little bit of research on it, but I'm looking forward to learning. Oh, yeah. Okay. So looking at how charts and so actual data mining and those kinds of information, like how are we presenting that in a way that people can understand it? Makes perfect sense there. So that's what's happening next week. Excited for all of that. Anamika just joined us. And I don't know if she just joined us. She's just commenting. She says, hey, everyone. Hello, Anna. Good to see you. So any last words for today, Piccia, before we wrap things up?
Just spread the word about captions. Even if they don't bother you, rest assured they are lethal. And one thing that we haven't said, and I want to add this for the end, is that the people that are most affected by that kind of flashy caption are actually deaf people who are the ones the captioning was created for.
Right.
They hate them. And then all the rest of us, such as vestibular disorders, ADHD, and so on, a lot of
Yeah,
people. So spread the word. And because a lot of people just don't know. If you're not bothered by it, you're not going to know. So please
that's so
spread the
true.
word.
Absolutely. And I will remind everybody that captioning is not a style choice. Captioning should be easy to read and easy to understand. So use captions, closed captions, and make it. And if you can't do closed captions and you can only do open captions, please stick to the formatting that closed captions usually uses for those of us who will just turn off your content altogether instead of watching that because it's so difficult to understand. So, oh, and let's see. So, Anamika says she has a great short video about creating closed captions in Premiere. If you'd like to share that link with me, Anamika, I will be sure to put that in the show notes as well so that people can take a look at that because we would love to see that as well. So, Piccia, thanks again for being here today. Next week, data
Thank
visualization.
you.
Then we have one more week after, and I can't remember what is on the agenda for that. Do you recall what our last week is? I can
No,
see it. It's on
we'll
the
find
YouTube. Give me one quick second. It'll say on the YouTube. And then animations. Yes.
animations.
So the last
Oh,
week will
yeah.
be
The other bugbear of mine.
animations. That's right. All right, everybody. Go forth and be
Thank you
accessible.
all.
Bye.
Bye bye.